Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Andrew Donovan. The most controversial budget process in a generation in the city of Syracuse is now over, with the Common Council's unanimous rebuke of the spending plan proposed by Mayor Ben Walsh in his final year in office. This week, at its regularly scheduled meeting, the Common Council voted 45 times to override vetoes the mayor made to the council's budget edits, representing $16 million in less spending for the fiscal year that opens on July 1st. That means the mayor will now spend the next month working with his departments to find ways to scale back the plans they all had, warning that city services and maybe staff might have to be discontinued to fit into the reduced budget forced on them by the Common Council. Councilors saying they're defending the taxpayer and were uncomfortable with the mayor's reliance on the city's fund balance and proposed tax increase. Ahead on Newsmakers, we'll hear from leaders on both sides of the issue. Extended portions of my interview with the Council Pro Tem Pat Hogan, also a candidate for mayor, and we'll hear the response from Mayor Ben Walsh. But first, my report from this week, the night the vote happened.
All in favor? Aye.
Without any discussion,
I'd like to make a motion to override the mayor veto of...
The Syracuse Common Council unanimously dismantled the city budget.
I'd like to make a motion to override the mayor veto of ordinance number 268, number 269, number 271.
One by one. Forcing $16 million in spending cuts on city departments.
I want to be clear, this is the council's budget. I delivered my budget. Council held hearings on my budget, and there has been zero public dialogue about the amendments that the council made. So this is the council's budget.
Councilors who seem uninterested in defending it. Finance Chair Corey Williams formally proposed each override, but wouldn't discuss them.
Could you just speak to what just happened?
Excuse me, I will defer to council leadership for all comment.
You are a leader of the council.
He deferred to President Pro Tem Pat Hogan, who's running for mayor.
They came to their own conclusions. Actually, there wasn't any opposition that I heard from, anyways.
Isn't that sad, though? Not one person wanted to compromise one thing.
No, I think I think it shows the due diligence the council does. I mean, having 9 councilors agree on a city budget, that's something.
To interview other councilors, I went to their office. Only Councilor Cholma Joke was willing. He's also running for mayor.
There seems to have been no compromise between the council and the mayor.
Well, the mayor destroyed that in his first press conference. Anybody that knows in the political space, you don't lead with anger.
He talks about being an adult in the room. Adults communicate. Adults compromise. Adults work with their constituents, with their colleagues. Nothing about the way in which Councilor Majuk has handled himself in this process suggests that he's the adult in the room.
Running against Hogan and Majuk in the Democratic primary is Walsh's deputy mayor, Sharon Owens, who called out her opponents for making budget cuts in secret.
Not just a peek. The curtains are drawn on your governance style, which is not mine.
This budget battle will be felt by one of these candidates in the primary next month, before it's felt by constituents the month after. It's also going to be felt by the city department heads. The day after his budget was slashed, I met with the city's Deputy Commissioner of Code Enforcement and Zoning Administration, asking how the budget will slow down his work and perhaps overall work on city growth.
You know, it was demolished, and then there were some plans to do townhouses.
Deputy Commissioner Jake Dishaw takes us to Tipperary Hill, where new homes bring a blighted corner back to life.
There's more investment, more construction happening now than ever before, at least in my lifetime.
Now, the worst budget process of his lifetime, he says. The Common Council cutting $600,000 from his funding, erasing 2 management jobs, half the money for third-party administrative support, and 2 more inspectors.
These are quality of life issues that inspectors are dealing with: overgrowth, trash, blight, things that kind of bring up our neighborhood. We'll be able to do less of that without those people.
He's worried about similar cuts across the city, like at the law department. Those lawyers help his team go after delinquent landlords.
I know there's a lot of questions around, was there really zero communication on this? Zero. My budget, watch my budget hearing. It went great.
just one city department head used to hearing from councilors when they need favors, but not when they're trimming his budget.
Not an email, not a call, not a question. Hey, Jake, if you were to reduce spending by around $500,000, where would you do it?
I would love to see a relaxing or a way to get businesses up and start in the city, because this is still a really difficult city for business to start up.
Didn't the council just slow the permitting process?
Well, all the adjustmts that have been made under this administration, it is still a difficult problem.
Will permitting be slower?
Yes, it will. I would love to say no, it won't, but that would be false. It will be slower.
A preconceived notion he's fought against for years. Coming up on Newsmakers, extended portions of interviews with the council's deferred to leader and the mayor. That's when Newsmakers continues on News Channel 9. Newsmakers is back, focusing on the city of Syracuse's controversial budget season, now at its end, with the mayor being forced to make $16 million in cuts to city services and maybe staff. We'll hear from Mayor Ben Walsh in a moment, but first, an extended portion of Council Pro Tem Pat Hogan, also a candidate for mayor, talking with reporters after the budget vote.
We did what we were supposed to do as a legislative body, and we addressed the issue of the budget, and we passed a bunch of, we overran the mayor's vetoes.
All of them?
Yes.
I couldn't help, there was no conversation at the study session or at the formal council meeting.
Well, there was, obviously we went through our meetings over a whole month, 5 weeks of conversation, actually, about like how we were going to adjust this budget in order to protect the fiscal integrity of the city.
You keep saying the fiscal integrity of the city.
Right.
What does that mean?
Well, that means like we have a city that has a structural deficit of every year. We have to maintain, we have to manage our departments. We just can't keep on raising taxes on people to address that structural deficit. That's been expressed to me on more than one occasion in different neighborhood meetings. And we have to be cognizant of the money we spend, because while we have built up a fund balance, we can't be really, we have to judiciously use it when we need to. Now, we still are going to be using $13 million of it, which is $13 million more than I want to use of it. But we have to, this is what we have to do with a city in our situation.
Given that public information advocates have been concerned about the way that the Common Council ultimately came to their decisions on the cuts, to Andrew's question, why not have discussion in a very public forum today about why you're overriding the mayor's vetoes?
Well, I'm talking to you folks right now, and this is a time, you're talking 5 weeks. The mayor delivered us the budget like a day before it was made public, 350-page document that we had to go over. And then we had a series of public meetings deferring each department, and we also had a public hearing on it.
All right, so you've cut the budget, wondering what cuts you'd suggest, because some of the criticism is that you haven't specified what cuts you'd suggest as a possible incoming mayor.
Well, you know what? I've been a department head. I was a deputy commissioner of parks, and we had to work within a budget. And when situations like this arose, just like this one, you have to live within your budget. I'm not going to take away the flexibility of a department head to make decisions at all. But we can't keep on spending money the way we are. That's all. A $27 million draw is like about 24% of that fund balance. It's too much. And I've been also in the city for a long time, and at least twice this city was close to receivership.
The newspaper's editorial board accuses the council of violating open meetings law.
It's their opinion, This was a very, this process is always pretty chaotic and hectic, but I think we got it right.
Will you continue to have those kind of caucus meetings in the future?
We have caucuses on occasion, no different than any other council I've served on.
Did any councilor come forward to say that you should slow down these overrules or even consider one or two of keeping it?
I have this council is very, they do all their work they're supposed to do as councilors.
Except talk to us.
Well, I'm talking to you. I mean, they do all their work as councilors, and they went over this budget, and they came to their own conclusions. Actually, there wasn't any opposition that I heard from anyways.
Isn't that sad, though? Not one person wanted to compromise one thing?
No, I think I think it shows the due diligence the council does. I mean, having 9 councilors agree on a city budget, that's something.
Were Mayor Walsh's amendments seriously considered, or was the plan from the get-go to ensure that what you first passed?
I'm not going to get into that process, but I mean, we went over the budget, and he has his opinion of the budget. We have our opinion of the budget.
So you felt there was nothing reasonable to compromise on?
I didn't think so. No, I mean, you know, it took me aback when that $27 million fund balance draw, plus the 2% tax hike, after the third year of consecutive tax hikes.
That's one side of the argument, now the other. Moments later, reporters moved down one story of City Hall, where the mayor of Syracuse addressed this budget battle that he ultimately lost.
I'm disappointed but not surprised by the council's actions today. I think they had been signaling that this was going to be the outcome for quite a while. I think it's telling that almost 3 weeks since the council first made their amendments, there has been ample time for further public dialogue, debate, discussion, and there was virtually none. And so, you know, even from the time that I issued my vetoes, still time for dialogue, discussion, debate, and they chose to remain silent. So again, disappointing, not surprising. But that's where we are. So now we go about the business of running city government. So we've got just about a month until the beginning of the next fiscal year. I met with, we have a weekly department head meeting. So last week I asked all department heads to begin developing their contingency budgets based on the council's budget. And I want to be clear, this is the council's budget. I delivered my budget. Council held hearings on my budget. And there has been zero public dialogue about the amendments that the council made. So this is the council's budget. I've asked department heads to develop their plans per the council's budget. That is in process. We're going to meet again tomorrow, discuss that further. The goal is next week to sit down and review draft budgets, draft contingency budgets. We'll make any final amendments or changes, I should say. And you know, unlike the council's process, we do intend to be very transparent and open with what those decisions are. We will share those publicly with the media as well as our constituents, and we'll also share those with the council. And to the council, I would say, if there are any cuts that they don't like, just as they've had the opportunity throughout this process to offer alternatives, I encourage them to offer them going forward. But up to this point, they have offered none. So that's where we are, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
You waited until this point to really share what versus what gets cut, right?
Yeah, we're just not there yet, Andrew.
Still, okay.
We're not. No, again.
Just shot spotters.
Don't to be determined, but it is absolutely on the chopping block. You know, beginning next week, I will see draft budgets from every department, and then I will take that opportunity to determine, you know, what I want to change. But as I've said from the beginning, there will be cuts, there will be pain. I'm going to do what I can to minimize it.
As the outgoing mayor, you'll leave with a breadth of experience, real world experience. What would you advise a future mayor and/or a future council to consider in terms of procedural, structural, maybe charter changes that would have been helpful the past month or so?
Yeah, you know, I think that that's a really good question, Andrew. I think outside of structural, it's just communicate. I mean, we have 7.5 years worth of evidence that show that when you communicate and collaborate, you govern well. And so, again, the fact that that didn't happen in this case is unfortunate. But in terms of structural changes, I think that the fact that that the process, there isn't a formal step in the process that allows for additional public engagement after the council makes their amendments is a missed opportunity and maybe an opportunity for improvement. So that's something that, you know, that we have tossed around some ideas and may pursue before I'm done as mayor.
Is it charter level change or?
I would think so, but I mean, look, there was nothing stopping the council from holding a public hearing at any point in this process. And the fact that they didn't, I think, is telling. But by pursuing it through a charter change, that would certainly require the council to do it, and that may be what's necessary.
One of the reporters questioning the mayor with us was Pat McCarthy from Central Current. We'll talk to him about his coverage of this whole budget process when Newsmakers continues. Newsmakers is back with Pat McCarthy, a reporter for Central Current, an online news publication. Pat McCarthy joined us on Newsmakers. He's also the winner of the Syracuse Press Club's Newcomer of the Year Award, a high distinction to highlight his reporting in the past year, which now includes the budget for the city of Syracuse. Welcome to Newsmakers.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Appreciate you being here. First, Central Current. For people who might haven't checked it out, what are you guys all about?
Sure, we're a relatively young, independent, nonprofit newsroom, and we're just trying to bring back good, honest, thorough, fair reporting to Central New York. Local newsrooms around the nation are shuttering every week, and we're trying to reverse that trend.
What do you make of the beat that you've basically been living the past month or so, which is this budget battle?
It's certainly been something. It's the first budget I've covered, and I'm sure I won't forget it very soon. It didn't go exactly as I had expected, or really, I don't think how anyone expected.
Well, they don't usually go that way. So you picked a good year to start. Watching that back, the mayor, the council leader, what stands out to you?
Well, one thing that immediately stands out is it doesn't even feel that this is over, truly, because the mayor will now draft a contingency plan, or the department heads will. The mayor said that the councilors will have a month to provide alternatives to the department heads' planned cuts. So I imagine this could go on for the weeks leading up to the start of the next fiscal year.
We were able to show a lot of that again, but is there anything that hasn't been said that you think is worth pointing out?
Sure. As far as the cuts go, I think that the council has been mixing messages as far as what the cuts for especially the police department will really mean. Councilors keep implying that Chief Cecil can just approach them for more money later in the year, to which the mayor has questioned what's the point of cutting their budget, especially their overtime budget. But I think that one particularly interesting program that might be cut is the flock safety license plate reader program, which the city and the council spent a good deal of time and effort last year to consider. Mayor Walsh's surveillance technology working group reviewed the technology, held a public comment period. The council then approved funding, and according to Deputy Chief Richard Schaaf, not even all of the license plate readers are installed yet. But he said the ones that are installed have been effective for SPD detectives. So it seems that a program that our local government spent at least a month considering last year is now on the chopping block for really no clear reason from the council.
A lot of programs that the council has approved the last year that apparently they seem a little disinterested in continuing. I'm wondering, we've heard a lot from the mayor. We've heard a lot from Pat Hogan, but a little bit more vague. Because the council won't defend itself, at least to me, what have you heard about their concern with spending? I mean, $100 million the city was poised to spend compared to when this current mayor started. So that's a lot of money, but I'm wondering what's their defense for doing this?
Sure, I mean, the councilors that have spoken to me say that they have acted out of a concern for the fiscal health of the city. And I think that, this is a situation where two things can be true. Spending has continued to go up in each annual budget, and to that point, the mayor didn't push back on all of their amendments. You can look at the DPW budget, which DPW consistently underspends what they've been budgeted, and I believe the mayor, sort of let that amendment sit and accepted that amendment. But that being said, when the councilors say that they're not politicizing the issue, or that this has not turned into a political battle, I think that some of the rhetoric betrays that. Counselors told me that even going for an outside analysis of the budget, part of the reasoning there was the payroll modernization project, which, if you're not familiar, months ago reporting revealed that the city has spent over 5 years now, and I believe close to $10 million trying to modernize their payroll systems. That project's not completed, but a few counselors have described that as a wasted $10 million in the press release that the council distributed. The council called that a failed project. That's not what we've heard from the city. We've heard that the project is close to being implemented. It just took longer than expected and may have received more funding than was planned. But to call it a failed project, I think sort of gives away the game. I think counselors have taken shots at the administration about that project, and that sort of language strikes me as inherently political.
Well, and of course, the thread of the primary for the Democratic nomination for mayor of Syracuse has been a storyline throughout this entire process. So that will continue, and like you said, it's not done because there's budget cuts to be made and a primary to be had about a month from now. Newsmakers is back right after this. That does it for Newsmakers for this week. For all the hardworking people of News Channel 9, we'll see you next time. Have a great weekend.